Welcome to the Dibley Diaries for this week. This week we're in the sheep field. Some sheep may or may not wander behind us while I'm talking to you for this bit. We're thinking this week about Jesus being the Good Shepherd and what that means, and about being with people in really difficult times. So one of the things I wanted to talk about as a real challenge this week is how difficult it is for people who only encounter the church, both the community and the building, as places whilst they are in a traumatic situation or grieving. Because what can happen is that those people only associate the church with that pain and that grief. And then that's really difficult for them to come back either into the community or into the church building even in a more joyous time. I've had people say to me, well, I just can't come in. It just makes me too sad to come in. The memories are too strong to come back in. And that's a really difficult situation. We may view supporting people as our vocation, as part of our outreach, but actually, how do we support people whilst actually making it not a place where they only associate grief and pain with the community and the building? This week's thought for the week is based on John 10 verses 11 to 18, where Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. So we've been thinking about this and thinking about sheep, and there are some various things that we will probably think about when we think about Jesus talking in this passage. So Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I'm not like the hired hand. I will not run away when the wolves come. The good shepherd stays and looks after the sheep. And I've been thinking about various different things about sheep and various different things about shepherds this week. And some of the things that Jesus says, Jesus doesn't say, I am the good shepherd, and that means that no wolves will ever attack the sheep. That's not what he's following. Jesus is saying, I am the good shepherd, so I will stay when the wolves attack the sheep. And that he will not run away in difficult times or hard times. And he doesn't say that because he's the shepherd, the hard times, that the wolves won't come. Jesus says the wolves will still come, but I will be there as the good shepherd looking after my sheep. So the wolves will still come, and Jesus will still be there. And then there are how this ties into the other stories of Jesus portraying God as a shepherd. So you probably remember the parable of the lost sheep, where there are 100 sheep which belong to a shepherd, or that are being looked after by a good shepherd. 99 get tucked away safely into the sheep pen, but one is missing. And this missing sheep is a kind of example of what happens. Sheep are not known to be superbly clever. They can be a problem. They can be missing for some time, and they can just wander off, or they can get themselves in all sorts of pickles. So Jesus is saying that he's the good shepherd, but he's also told this story about the fact that the sheep are pickles, and they will go off, and there will be things that happen to them which are their fault, and things that happen to them which are not their fault, but Jesus will still be there with them. And then there are other occasions when Jesus is talking to Peter about being a shepherd for the sheep. And this is after Jesus' death and resurrection. Jesus cooks breakfast for the disciples on the beach, and then he takes Peter to one side and talks to him as the founder of the church. He explains to Peter that Peter is to look after all his people, and he uses the analogy of a shepherd for this, and he talks to Peter about caring for the sheep, about looking after the sheep, about feeding the sheep. And so for us as a church community, that is something which we also should be doing. We should also be caring for the sheep. We should be looking after the people that Jesus says are like the sheep, and so we should be caring for each other. We should be looking after each other. And I wonder if there's a time when you have been looked after by a church community or by a member of a church or a church leader, because they have felt this vocation to be a shepherd for you. It might have been that the wolves have been coming, it might have been that you've wandered off and got lost. All these metaphors might apply to that situation, but is there a time when you have been cared for in that way? And also, is there a time when you needed to care for someone else like a good shepherd? And if not, maybe is there a situation now where you should be caring for somebody like a good shepherd, whether they've wandered off in a silly sheepness thing and something bad has happened, or whether through no fault of their own the wolves have come to attack them. Is there someone that you should be caring for, following Jesus' example and his calling for us to be good shepherds? Dibley moment for the week this week is about a time which happened in 1349, where the Bishop of Bath and Wells wrote to his priests and said, do not leave your flocks, do not leave your congregations, you need to care for them as these terrible wolves are attacking them, the Black Death he meant. And so I was particularly struck by this in 2020 during COVID, where I thought, well, my job hasn't particularly changed that much since the bishop wrote that letter in 1349, and so was struck by the fact that we needed to care for our sheep, even in that situation, the same as they had all those years ago. And that's it for the rather windier than I was expecting Dibley Diaries for this week. I pray that you and your village, however large or small, have a really blessed week where you can all care for each other like good shepherds.